Eggs are often considered one of the most nutritious and easily digestible foods, especially for seniors. They're packed with protein, essential nutrients, and are quick to prepare. However, when it comes to reheating eggs, there's a silent danger lurking. You already know that eggs contain cholesterol, but here's the kicker. Not all cholesterol is created equal. There's a significant difference between natural cholesterol and oxidized cholesterol, the latter of which forms when eggs are cooked, cooled, and then reheated. When you cook an egg, the cholesterol begins a slow oxidation process. The real danger arises when you reheat it, especially in a microwave, which creates uneven heat and hot spots. This process accelerates the oxidation of cholesterol, turning it into compounds known as oxyals. Why does this matter? Research published in cardiovascular journals has directly linked oxyals to endothelial dysfunction. That's damage to the inner lining of your blood vessels. These compounds seep into your arteries and cause inflammation. Worse, they promote the formation of foam cells, which are the building blocks of arterial plaque. For someone over the age of 60, whose arteries are already less elastic, adding a daily serving of oxidized cholesterol is like rubbing sandpaper against a surface that is already worn thin. But there's more to the story. The protein in eggs, especially the egg whites, undergoes a process called protein denaturation when reheated. This, combined with other compounds, can produce byproducts that your gut struggles to process, leading to localized inflammation. As we know, gut inflammation doesn't stay confined. It travels, contributing to the broader systemic inflammation that becomes harder to deal with as we age. The solution is simple. Cook your eggs fresh. It takes just 3 minutes. If you absolutely must reheat them, use low heat on a stovetop, never a microwave, and never reheat them more than once. But honestly, cooking them fresh is the best option. Fish, particularly fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, are frequently recommended for seniors due to their high omega-3 fatty acids, which are powerful anti-inflammatory agents. The omega-3s are considered heart-healthy and provide many health benefits. However, reheating fish is a completely different story. It's a problem that surprises many because of the common belief that reheating doesn't significantly alter its nutritional value. Omega-3 fatty acids are polyunsaturated fats, meaning they have multiple points along their molecular chain where they are vulnerable to oxidation. The first time you cook fish, some oxidation occurs, but it's manageable. The real issue arises when you reheat that fish the next day. The heat you apply to fish that's already partially oxidized makes it even more chemically unstable. This leads to the formation of oxidized lipid compounds, one of which is malondialdehyde, or MDA. MDA is classified as a mutagenic compound, meaning it can directly damage DNA. It's also a potent pro-inflammatory agent that targets arterial tissue. Ironically, while you eat fish to protect your heart, reheating it may have the opposite effect, introducing oxidized fats that add stress to the very arteries you're trying to protect. But the problem doesn't stop at chemistry. There's a serious bacterial concern as well. Fish and shellfish often harbor bacteria like Vibrio and Listeria monocytogenes, which thrive in cold storage and can survive reheating if the internal temperature isn't perfectly uniform. For adults over 60, this is particularly concerning because immune function naturally decreases with age. A mild illness that a younger person might recover from quickly can become a serious systemic infection in an older adult. The best practice is simple. Eat fish fresh the same day it's cooked. If you have leftovers, eat them cold the next day in a salad or grain bowl. The omega-3s remain intact in the cold, preserving their anti-inflammatory benefits. Reheating omega-3s, however, leads to oxidative damage. So let your fish be cold. You're actually preserving what made it valuable in the first place. Mushrooms have become a staple in many health-conscious diets, particularly due to their rich content of antioxidants, B vitamins, and beta-glucans, all of which support immune function. For seniors, these nutrients are especially valuable. But there's a catch. When cooked mushrooms are left overnight and then reheated, they transform into something much more harmful. Mushrooms have a complex protein structure that begins to break down when cooked. Once they cool, bacterial activity starts to break down those proteins further, producing biogenic amines like putrescine and histamine. You might be familiar with histamine from allergic reactions, but dietary histamine, the kind that enters your body through food, causes a whole different set of issues. It leads to vasodilation and triggers inflammatory responses, especially in the gut lining. In individuals over 60, who already experience a more permeable gut lining, elevated histamine doesn't just stay in the digestive system. It spreads throughout the body, contributing to what researchers now call low-grade systemic histamine load. This is a persistent, mild immune activation that quietly fuels chronic inflammation. But there's another problem. Mushrooms, particularly when stored and reheated, release purines in higher concentrations. This becomes a concern for anyone managing uric acid levels or at risk for gout, a condition that becomes more prevalent with age. So, what's the solution? Mushrooms should be eaten the day they're cooked. If you have leftovers, refrigerate them immediately and consume them within 24 hours. Instead of reheating, add them cold to salads or grain bowls. This way, you avoid the buildup of harmful compounds, and the nutritional value remains intact. What these three foods, eggs, fish, and mushrooms, have in common is that they're all highly nutritious when prepared fresh. The problem arises when they are reheated. The molecular structures of fats and proteins are altered, leading to the creation of compounds that promote inflammation and even DNA damage. The longer we wait to eat these foods or the more we expose them to heat, the greater the potential for harm. However, with a few small changes in how we handle these foods, we can mitigate the risks and continue to enjoy their benefits.